All right, let's talk about some ways you can increase your Social Security check. On my thumbnail there, I said give you 6 ways you can increase your Social Security check, but all right, I wasn't telling the truth. I'm going to give you a whole bunch more. All right, so if this doesn't apply to you, make sure you put it away in your cerebral oblongata, I guess, and that way you can think of anybody you meet in the future, the little lady down the street, the lady at the diner, the waitress, the guy at the gas station, whatever the case may be, and say, hey, I know how you can get some extra money in your pocket. So again, this is a community action network here. We help each other out as much as possible. Okay, let's get right in it. This is also a live Q&A, so if you have any questions, make sure you type them in there. And with Social Security, there's always exceptions, the exceptions, the exceptions. So we'll get into all of it. Okay. There's tons of people out there in social media land that do these type of videos about increasing your Social Security benefits, and they're all pretty much, get rich, don't retire, wait till you're 70. Somebody already put that in there. Marry somebody rich, I think, was one of the other recommendations there, and that's always a good thing. Win the lottery, all that. I've got an issue with the mic here. Let's see what we got going on. This is live. Okay, I think we got it. All right. Thank you for letting me know about the sound there. Okay, I think we got it. Appreciate it. Thank you. This is live, right? All right. If you're watching this recording, see, that is proof. This is live. All right. So winning the lottery and all the rest of it. Good luck with that. Marrying a rich person, definitely go for it. But let's talk about some other things that actually work. Okay, obviously, yes, delaying retirement or starting at the wrong time for your retirement benefits. So we're talking about retirement benefits, spouse benefits, divorce spouse benefits, surviving spouse benefits, whatever the case may be. That's considered retirement benefits in terms of Social Security. So in terms of Social Security, thank you for telling me the GC and Cynthia, the much better with the sound. I appreciate it. So in term that those are all considered retirement. So those annual earnings limits apply to that. So we're talking this year, it's $23,400. Anything you make over that, Social Security holds back $1 for every $2 you go over. So there's a lot of people retire and then they realize, oh, wait a second, all my checks are being withheld because I'm going over the limit. So we want to make sure you start your benefits at the right time. So I've got a bunch of videos that go into more detail on that in terms of, is your health, are you working, anybody else dependent on your benefits. So starting your benefits at the right time. I've taken hundreds of thousands of claims at Social Security, and the mantra was always getting the right check to the right person at the right time. So that should be yours as well, getting the right check at the right time. So starting it at the correct time. That's important. Obviously, working more. Most of these videos that talk about increasing your Social Security benefits, they say, wait till 70 and make more money. It's like work longer hours. Duh. But that is a reality. But what they don't mention is that cuts both ways in terms of before your full retirement age and after, because Social Security kind of calculates your benefits based on your high 35 years of earnings. And it doesn't matter when that is. A lot of people miss that. If you're 62, 72, 82, 102, then if you work and you continue to pay into Social Security, and that's one of your high 35 years of earnings, it doesn't matter how old you are, Social Security will automatically recalculate your benefits. So if you're 82 years old and you worked the previous year, and that's one of your high 35 years, then Social Security will recalculate that and give you an increase. And don't miss the younger years. So if you're 82 years old and you make $100,000 and you say, well, that's going to replace that $20,000 I made when I was 25 years old. Probably not, because remember, Social Security benefits, what they do is they take that year and they index it for a wage index. So if you're 82 and you worked at 25, making $25,000, that's probably worth like $200,000 today once they index it. So people contact me all the time coming here to the channel and they say, I worked last year and I made a lot more money than I did, when I was in my 20s or 30s. but those were indexed for inflation. So it just might not have increased your benefit amount. So remember that. So that the working more, counts ever since you work and until the end of your time. So, in terms of delaying, remember you also get those delayed retirement credits. So, anytime you wait after your full retirement age for benefits on your record, it's only this, in this case, the delayed retirement credits, which is 8% per year, is added on. So, let's say your benefit amount is when you hit your full retirement age, let's say 67, your full benefit amount is $1,000. If you wait to collect those benefits until you're 70, 8% times 3, 24%. So instead of $1,000, you'll get $1,240. So you'll get 8% delayed retirement credits every year. And what a lot of people miss, and including Social Security employees, unfortunately, because not many people take advantage of this strategy, is called voluntary delayed retirement credits. So you can start your Social Security benefits, and then once you hit your full retirement age, a few months before you hit your full retirement age, you can actually suspend your benefits to get those voluntary delayed retirement credits. And then you start your benefits up again at 68 or 69 or 70 or whatever the case may be, and you get those extra 8% added on there. But I got to warn you, when you go down to the Social Security Administration and try to do that, they might give you a hard time because not many people do it. And so a lot of the people in the front, called the customer service representatives at the front windows, don't really know about the voluntary delayed retirement credit. So you just have to push a little bit harder, and they'll find someone in the back to help you out. So, but you just have to. It takes a little battle sometimes to get that. So that's the voluntary. Another one is obviously increase your benefits. Make sure you get the right benefits at the right time. The correct amount. Make sure your benefits are calculated correctly. I'm coming up with a calculator. People asking about the website. It was going to be a simple website, but people that have been watching me for a while know, I always want to add extra stuff on there. So it's going to be a pretty awesome website that covers so much, and it's expanded out more than I anticipated. But one of the calculators it has is where you can go in there and manually check to make sure your benefit is correct. So I'm going to add that as well. But as of right now, the number one way to calculate that your benefit is correct is making sure your earnings record is correct. So if your earnings record, that is if you go into SSA.gov, my Social Security, and you click on your earnings record and see how much you made in your 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s, if everything is correct there, then you should be good, because that's how Social Security calculates those benefits, is based on how much you actually paid. And the mistake a lot of people make, and therefore they're getting the wrong benefit, is they don't check that on a regular basis. So, reach out to all the young people and tell them, hey, tax season is over, but it's not over until you go into your Social Security account and check to make Social Security got those numbers, got those earnings. Because if you catch that mistake early, it's easy to fix. If you wait 10, 20, 30, 40 years, it's very difficult, if not impossible to fix. So make sure you do it, check that on a regular basis. Okay, some other things is wasting money on Medicare Part B. Part A is free for most people, but Part B this year is $185. A lot of people waste $185 and they've reduced their check when they don't need Part B. If you have current insurance from current work, yours or your spouse's, and obviously you're happy with it, and your employer has 20 or more employees, or if you're a large place, 100 or more employees, then you don't need to waste your money on Medicare Part B. Save your $185. Even if you're 65, people always say, well, if I don't sign up for Medicare Part B at 65, I'll get in trouble. No. If you have health insurance from work, current work, yada, 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 then you don't have to sign up for Medicare Part B. Don't waste the money on Part B. Once you stop receiving health insurance from work, current work, then you go ahead and sign up, whether it's the following year or 70 or 75 or 80. So don't waste money on Part B if you don't need it. Another thing that people that do need Part B but can't afford it, so think about everybody in your community that relatives, friends, a little old lady down the street that they're having a hard time paying for the Part B, the $185. Tell them to contact Medicaid, and there's a program called the Medicare Savings Program where they contact Medicaid, and if they're approved, then the state, the Medicaid is called different things, Badger Care and Sooner Care and Medi-Cal, and there's dozens of Apple Care, and there's dozens, but they're all Medicaid. It's all Medicaid. They just go by different names. But if you're approved for that Medicaid from your state and they just might pay for that $185, the Part B, and that puts $185 back in your pocket, which is always a beautiful thing. And then you're eligible for those Medicare Advantage plans. I always recommend Medicare supplement plans, but if you have a Medicare Advantage plan, Medicare and Medicaid, then a Medicare Advantage dual eligible plan might just get you some more benefits, extra dental, vision, hearing, those grocery cards you see advertised all over the place. They actually do exist. Transportation and stuff. You can reach out to my partners there at Chapter who sponsor the Q&A, which we'll start here in a little bit. And speaking of a Medicare supplement, here's another way you can save some money. It's not going to increase your Social Security check, but it's increase your, it's going to save you money every month, is the Medicare supplements. You can change those 365 days of the year. If you have a Medicare supplement, an F or a G or an N, and it's starting to get expensive, you can price that, check to see if you can get a cheaper one 365 days of the year. Depending on your state, you might have to go through health underwriting. And there's some states that, I think it was Utah, and there's a couple other states that are doing kind of the birthday rule. And in some states, it's what's called the birthday rule. The anniversary rules are different things. So states that have the birthday rule, and again, you can reach out to Chapter or whoever signed you up for your Medicare supplement plan and say, hey, can you find me a cheaper one now? Because once you have a Plan G, they're all the same. A Plan G is a Plan G is a Plan G. The only difference is the price. But call up Chapter whoever and say, hey, I'm paying this much. Is there any out there that are cheaper? Do I have to go through health underwriting? Is there going to be, is the state going to, introduce some type of birthday rule where the birthday rule is basically during your birthday? It depends on the state, like that month or the month before, the month after included. You can change your Medicare supplement plan without going through health underwriting. So if you move, you can change your Medicare supplement plan without health underwriting. There's all kinds of the ability to change your Medicare plan, your Medicare Advantage, your Medicare supplement plan, that it's just way, way too confusing. Unfortunately, there's so many exceptions to the exceptions. You always need, help. And, you can call, Chapter or whoever. A lot of people call SHIP, which is a state agency, state health insurance programs. They provide free help as well. But JAMA just did a study of SHIP. JAMA is the Journal of American Medical Association. And they did a study where they've called a bunch of SHIP agents throughout the country. And it didn't turn out very well. So it's unfortunate. But I can never say anything bad about volunteers. We all like volunteers. All right. So you can check your price on your Medigap, your Medicare supplement, see if you can save some money there. IRMA, if you're paying higher than $185, maybe you're paying that IRMA extra charge, the extra premium for your Part A. And there's also an extra charge for your Part D if you're one of the high income earners. And a lot of people but then they had a life-changing event and they don't realize they can appeal that and get that extra charge taken off. And I just did a video on this a couple of days ago, but it's called the IRMA, Income Related Monthly Adjustment Amount. And if you have a life-changing event, you just might be able to get that reversed and get your money back. And it's the form is SSA 44. So definitely check that out. Another thing people are missing, getting the wrong check, getting the wrong program. I just had somebody yesterday on my live that said they were 71 years old and they were on widow's benefits and they wanted to know if they can switch to benefits on their own record. And yes, you can. That is if the benefits on your own record are higher. So a lot of people miss that. So she was 71 years old, so she missed many months of benefits if her benefits on her own record turned out to be higher. So that's a strategy. People file for the wrong benefits at the wrong time. They file for benefits on their own record at 62, but they should have filed for survivor benefits at 60. They should have filed for retirement and disability when they turned 62 if they were disabled. They should have filed for spouse benefits as well, but they didn't want to. I get this. This is a terrible one. People, they're getting benefits on their own record, but they are also eligible for divorced spouse benefits. But they say, well, I don't want to get those divorce spouse benefits because, my ex-spouse remarried and I don't want to affect it. They don't know. Won't know unless you tell them. And it won't affect their benefits. It won't affect their new spouse or their kids or anything like that. Doesn't affect it. And another one is, well, I would file on that person's record, but in the divorce decree said I couldn't get it. Social Security doesn't care about that. Yeah, that's no relevance. If you were married to that person for 10 years, you're eligible for those benefits. Doesn't matter what it says in the divorce decree. And so nice try, lawyers. Getting that benefit might affect any alimony or something, and that's a whole different thing. But in terms of Social Security, no relevance whatsoever. So signing up for Part B at the wrong time and getting a penalty. So if you don't sign up for Part B at 65 or when you're on, disability for 2 years, then guess what? 10% penalty for every 12 months you didn't have Part B. So yeah, a lot of people unfortunately are paying that. Obviously COLA, there's a lot of videos out there. The videos have already started in social media land about what the COLA is going to be for 2026. Nobody knows. How COLA, it's not a political thing. Well, the way the calculations are done, political, but that's, based on how they decided COLA in the 1970s. But basically, we don't know what COLA will be until the first week of October. So any videos out there about COLA is all BS. What it is the third quarter of this year, a basket of goods will be compared to the third quarter of last year. So if a basket of goods was last year this amount, and the third quarter of this year, which ends in September 31st, is 6% more, then we'll get a 6% COLA. But so nobody could really, know what's going on now until we know what's going on in September. So the whole COLA stuff is kind of premature. Don't waste your time with those. And obviously the biggest thing that's going to affect your check and reduce your check going forward are the cuts that we've known about for decades, but we have failed and our politicians have failed to prevent those inevitable cuts that are going to be happening in the future. This much comes into FICA, that much goes out into checks. Up until now, the trust fund has covered that gap, the savings from the trust fund, but those savings can't last forever. And guess what? Those savings run out that we've put away, that baby boomers have put away, that's going to run out about 2033 or 2034. So everybody's going to get a cut across the board, 20, 21, 22, 23%. So how do you prevent that cut from your Social Security check going forward? Contact your politicians and tell them to get on the ball. And what are you doing to fix it, to make sure it doesn't happen? And don't tell them, make sure they don't give any bullshit. Excuse me, I should have said some BS. So, all right, let's see here. Let's get into your questions. Dr. Ed, thank you for your expertise. You're welcome. At 67, I may go back to work. Does my Social Security benefit stop? Nope. At 67, you can go back to making $1 billion a month, and it doesn't affect your Social Security benefit negatively at all. Remember, just might increase it. So if it's one of your high 35 years. Will it add to my benefit? Yes. Do I delay my benefit? If so, do I get widow's benefits? Oh, okay, so you're also eligible for widow's benefits. I would definitely check that out. Here's a strategy. So you're going to be 67 soon. So what you can do is, if you've already been receiving your retirement benefits on your own record, you can suspend that. Remember the voluntary delayed retirement credits? So your check will increase 8% every year. And maybe go ahead and switch to your survivor benefits. So your widow's benefits, start your widow's benefit, call and, check out the numbers, see how much they are and see whether that's, amount you can live on. But yeah, get your survivor benefits. Work has no relevance anymore. So that's not an issue, but call up and find out how much your widow's benefits are. And then say, hey, I want to switch to my widow's benefits and I want to voluntarily delay my retirement benefits on my own record so they will get the 8%. Again, as I mentioned, when you go in there, I would schedule an appointment and talk to a Title II CS. When I worked at Social Security before I became a manager, I was a Title II CS, a Title II of the Social Security Act, and those are the people that do retirement, Medicare, spouse benefits, SSDI, and stuff. So if you just walk into the office and ask them about that kind of advanced strategy, the person at the front window said, "You can't do that," and then you'll say, "Okay, well, thank you for your opinion. I want to talk to a Title II CS," and they'll help you out. So. Here what is. Here's the one I was referencing. Kurt the Squirt. Work longer, work harder, make more money, marry a rich person. Yes. But there are other options there too. So, all right. Let's see. Retire. Have Social Security appointment to show total wage for 25. Work for government through February of 25. Started December 15th, 2024. LES shows wage. Leave an earning statement. That's old military. It sounds like, yeah. LES shows wage since 20. Will SSA realize this and reduce 2025 wage began? Okay, yeah, 2025. Not sure what you're talking about for 2025 total wages because 2025 isn't in yet. So yeah, if you're talking about 2024 earnings, you've got your LES for 2024 or something. If not sure if this is a early retirement and you're being docked because you're making over. Yeah, I'm not sure. I just want to let you know you are a shining light and thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, my forehead is kind of shiny today. Thank you. And yes, and yeah, the mic is now working. All right. All right, much better. The sound. Thank you for letting me know, guys. I appreciate it. Waiting on an initial decision. Done, had a physical exam, mental exam, and have x-rays and MRI done in the last 4 months. Social Security now has me set up for more x-rays. Is that normal? It's not abnormal. It happens. So you've got a consultative exam. It's called a CE. So at least that shows that they're working on the case, that there's still someone in that particular office, the DDS, the Disability Determination Services, because they've been cut too. They're understaffed as well. They get the DDS is the state DDS is the ones that make the medical determination. Yeah, they have a terrible kind of turnaround for employees. So they're always kind of, Congress, doesn't want people to get disability, I guess. So that's one of the ways they prevent people from getting the benefits, you're eligible for, is they don't provide customer service. And it's even worse now. I mean, this has been happening for decades, unfortunately. But yeah, it's not abnormal. So make sure you keep those appointments and and so that shows that, something is going on. So that's a beautiful thing. GC, hey GC, thank you for letting me know about the mic. I appreciate it. I got Social Security survivor benefits. My son, who has autism, gets Social Security disability and survivor benefits. I don't see how we can increase our benefits at all. Is that correct? Good. I think I should have added that. One of the ways it's not really increasing your Social Security. Well, I guess it could, but to increase the money coming to your house is remember, if your son receives disability benefits. Remember, even though they're receiving disability benefits, he can work. A lot of people are losing money because they, it says, I started Social Security benefits and therefore I can't work. No, even if you're filing early retirement benefits, you can work $23,400 up to that. If you're receiving disability benefits, you can still work. You just have to, make sure you do everything correctly. The trial work period, as long as you stay under that, or the, substantial gainful activity. So there's a lot of people, obviously there's different spectrum from autism. So if your son's able to work, then, that doesn't affect your Social Security. So, and people, another one I hear quite often is people that are receiving disability benefits. Once they hit their full retirement age, their disability switches to regular retirement, and you're allowed to do whatever you want now. And a lot of people say, "Hey, I'm 71 years old, and a friend of mine said, hey, come down to my store and work, and I'll pay you some. But I didn't want to do it because I'm on disability. I didn't want to lose my disability." I'm like, "You're not on disability. You can do whatever you want now." So, Why would my dad get a cold call from Social Security a few years ago saying if he used his second dead wife's Social Security, it would raise his amount $800 a month? He was so grateful. Is this a fluke or a process? Yeah, this is probably a rib letter, which means your local office might done a great job at that time. Hopefully, the person that did a great job at that time is still, still has is still working at Social Security and still doing a great job. But anyway, yeah, that's not possibly. Um, but Social Security does that. If you're receiving survivor benefits and your benefits on your own record is now more, then Social Security will reach out to you and say, hey, you've been receiving the survivor benefits, but did you know benefits on your own record is more? Why don't you come on down and file a claim and get those extra benefits? And sometimes the reverse. So yes, it does happen. But more often it's some scammer saying, hey, call and press this button or do this, that, and the other, and find out if you're more benefits, and then they got your information. So anytime you get anything like that, yeah, make sure you call the local Social Security office directly and say, hey, what is this? Yeah, you don't want to get scammed out there. But yeah, that one does happen. Yes. Can you put up a screenshot of Elon's X showing zero fraud for Social Security? I want to show people, but don't. I don't think I have. Yeah, but all you have to do is, I actually was working on that. I've got something I'm going to add to my website on that, kind of a section on internet myths. But Doge and Elon Musk have found zero fraud in Social Security. And what's crazy, because there is a lot of fraud in Social Security, individual people receiving disability that are working, but he's not looking for one person here and one person there. They're looking for, hundreds of billions of dollars in order to pay for tax cuts. So, but Social Security and OIG, the inspector generals, have found, if you look back in the last couple of months, they've found probably hundreds of cases of fraud that they put people in jail for and stuff like that. So Social Security and the inspector generals have been finding fraud all the time. But in terms of Doge and Elon Musk, they have found zero. And you can look on their website, on X, there is the wall of receipts. And if you look at Social Security, you'll see that they found zero fraud. Because if it's fraud, then people are being prosecuted and thrown in jail and stuff like that. And there's nothing like that. So Social Security deposited $1,800 into my account yesterday. Should I call them or no? Okay, Certified Williams, $1,800. The only thing I'm thinking that could be is, if you've been getting your regular Social Security check and now all of a sudden what you're talking about is an extra $1,800, then you've been unwept or un-GPO'd. You're part of that Social Security Fairness Act. So you worked, or you were married to someone that worked for a non-covered entity, a government organization, state, local, city, or something. So that's probably it. What usually happens with Social Security when they push the button like that, the direct deposit happens overnight. So if they say, hey, Certified Williams is entitled to $1,800, they push the button, and that button immediately goes to the Department of Treasury. The Department of Treasury does the direct deposit. And then at the same time, they're printing off the letter. And they print off the letter and they mail you the letter. And then you get the letter in 7 to 10 days. And so it comes after you actually get the money. So that's why a lot of people, you'll probably get a letter here in a few days. Or go on, if you're set up for that, kind of electronic email type stuff, you go into My Social Security and it might be in there. Ed, asking for my daughter. Thank you for looking out. Who recently retired with no Part D on Medicare. Penalty was 1% per month of what amount? Thank you. Appreciate you. Yeah, it's this year it's what, $30 and some change, 33, 34. What they do is the 1% is 1% of the average Part D premium in the country. They do this weird calculation every year. So I think it's like $30, $33, $34 or something. So it's 1% of that. 1% for every, month. It's unlike Part B. Part B is 10% for every 12 months. Part D, as in David, 1% per every month. So if you're 12 months late signing up, then yes, 12% times the 33% or whatever it is. 33 to $34. And this is an unfortunate, and this is one of the reasons I went with Chapter there, is because they do things right. And if they don't, they're not going to be, you know, I'm not going to partner with them anymore. But they're doing a phenomenal job so far. But a lot of people out there, Medicare insurance agents and brokers and companies, they will sign you up for a Medicare supplement plan, but then they'll ignore, forget, be lazy, and not sign you up for a Part D plan. And they might ask you, they said, hey, okay, you sign up with a Medicare supplement, a Plan G or a Plan N. Those don't come with Part D wrapped up in them like most Medicare Advantage. Medicare, if you have a Medicare Advantage, there's a very, very, very good chance your Part D is part of that. But Medicare supplements, you have to sign up for a Part D, a standalone, an extra. And then what happens a lot is, they sign you up for the Medicare supplement plan, Plan G, and they say, okay, we need to get you a Part D plan now. And you say, I don't take drugs. And they say, okay, bye. And yeah. And then you get penalized in the future. So, because they don't make a lot of those plans, they don't make any money on them. So they're like, yeah, whatever. So it's bad, bad, bad customer service. Thanks for San Diego for all your help. Oh, San Diego. That's where I went to Marine Corps boot camp. Hollywood Marine. At 75, still working, why doesn't my Social Security take it of my pay, do something to raise my Social Security amount, or am I just paying this for nothing? Yeah, so if you, unfortunately, death and taxes, you're going to pay FICA taxes, Medicare, Social Security taxes forever. And if it's one of your high 35 years, yes, it will increase your benefit amount, but it sounds like it's not. So yeah, but you have to pay, unfortunately, forever. Applied for Social Security benefits in January, got a letter advising would start in March. First check in April. Yep, still have not received it. I was born December 25th. Oh, born on Christmas. So you were born at the end of the month, the last 10 days of the month. So your check is going to come on the fourth Wednesday of the month. And today is the 20th. So the fourth Wednesday of the month is what, the 23rd? Yeah. So you should get your check in a few days. Knock on wood. Question: in order to qualify for survivors, his PA would have to be twice my benefit amount, or what I would get nothing. That is correct. Oh, no. On survivors, no. Could you explain calculation? Sure, Tweety Bear, what's up? Yeah, so for spouse benefits, divorce spouse benefits, when that the person, the spouse, is still alive, then it's 50%. It has to be twice. But survivor benefits, if you get up to 100%. So if your benefit amount on your own, your full benefit amount is $1,000, and the full benefit amount on your deceased spouse, deceased ex-spouse or whatever, is $1,001, then you can get that extra $1. So. All right, let's see here. Jane, hello. My husband isn't going to file for his full benefit till he is 66 and 10 months. So we was wondering when he should start to file. Thank you. We appreciate your help. You're welcome, Jane. Yeah, about 3 or 4 months before he turns his full retirement age. Yeah, that's fine. Remember, if you can file for benefits on your own record. It's called a split strategy, where if you're the lower earning spouse, for example, you can file for benefits on your own record, start your money start coming in. And then when he files for benefits on his record, you might be eligible. If his full benefit amount is twice yours, then you can file for spouse benefits on his record. If he has health insurance from work, then he doesn't have to worry about Medicare. We used to get people coming to the office all the time. Hey, I'm turning 65 next month, and I just want to tell you all I don't want Medicare. It's like, you didn't have to come down here. Unless you're currently receiving benefits. If you're currently receiving benefits, then Medicare does sign you up for Medicare automatically. But Jane, if your husband has health insurance from work, happy with it, 20 or more employees, all that kind of good stuff, then doesn't have to do anything until he actually wants to file. So a few months before. So let's see. Applying online for retirement, first check in August. Estimate 2025 income. Is it best to estimate higher or lower? I work part-time as a substitute. School does not pay Social Security. Should I be concerned? Okay. So I assume you're under your full retirement age, so the annual earnings limit does apply. But remember, So for 2025 income, it doesn't really matter. Your estimate. The important thing is your first check is going to be in August. So that means you're starting your benefits in July because the July check comes in August. So if you're going to make $1 billion from now until June, doesn't matter. Social Security doesn't care. You can tell them, I'm going to make $1 billion. And they'll say, okay, well, congratulations. Good on you. But starting July, when you start your first check, how much are you going to make? And then if you say, I'm going to stay under $1,950, then they'll say, okay, cool, you're good. So as long as you stay under $1,950 every month for the rest of the year, then you can collect your Social Security check and make that $1,950. If you go over that, then yeah, you're not going to be able to get that check. And then next year you have to stay under your annual earnings limit. So it doesn't matter what you say. It's just in terms of how much you make before, they don't really care. It's what you make once you start receiving those benefits. So, okay. Let's see here. American Moon. I'm 120 pounds, legally blind, SSI. I don't pay in 80s when doing well. If I file those back, not pay, will my Social Security replace SSI 5 years? Good sir. Okay, I'm not following too much here, but your SSI, you're receiving supplemental security income, the welfare-based program, and you're saying that in the 80s you worked, but you didn't pay into Social Security, and you're thinking about refiling your taxes, which that's what you would have to do if you're saying, hey, I found my taxes in the 80s and here it is. So you'll have to go through the whole IRS rigmarole and file those taxes and see if you're eligible for benefit. But yeah, I've never heard anybody actually doing that. So I haven't filed taxes in 7 years. They told me I don't have to file IRS taxes because of 100% of my income is Social Security. Yeah, if that's it, then yeah. I've actually got in my YouTube description, I just updated my YouTube description. It actually looks nice and organized yet. Finally. But I've got the calculator in the IRS link for the calculator to go in there and you answer a few questions and it tells you whether you even have to file. That's for the IRS. That's for federal. Sometimes you might have to file the local, the state. But yeah, if all your income is Social Security, then, you're probably good and you don't pay taxes on your Social Security, and so you don't have to file and stuff. Just they told me, so I'm not sure who they are, but that sounds right. If your only money is your Social Security, then they are probably right. But I never worked for the IRS, so but you can go to the IRS website and answer those 5 or 6 questions just to double check. Okay, if I draw off survivor's benefits from my late husband, how do I know if I'm getting the correct amount from his Social Security? And how can I find this out? Because you are correct about customer service. They don't know. Yeah, for survivor benefits, it's kind of tough because you'll get the benefit amount if your spouse or deceased ex-spouse or whoever was receiving benefits, then you can assume that that person checked their earnings record to make sure, everything was correct. If they never did, then you would have to check their earnings record and you can request it. But if you see something, would you know where they worked their entire life? Were you with them their entire life? And could you say that, in 1982, he or she didn't make $50,000, they made $70,000. And then you would have to go prove where that other $20,000 came from. So it's difficult. Yeah, because that's how your benefit is decided on the earnings record. So you would have to know that. Photo Coyote. I received Social Security based on my deceased ex-husband's benefits. I never worked enough to qualify for Social Security. Now that I'm 70, do my benefits increase? No, your benefits are your benefits. I mean, other than, obviously COLA, the cost of living increase. But other than that, no, your benefits are not going to increase because you never worked enough to qualify for Social Security. So you can't switch on to your own. Deceased spouse, obviously not working, so there's not going to be increased based on work. So, yep, your benefits are your benefits. So you just need to find money other places. Make sure, Medicaid paying for your Part B, making sure you check your Medicare supplement plan for a good price. Make sure you check your Medicare Advantage plan. Make sure you don't get those extra charges. I talked to Chapter about this, and I applied for Medicaid, and I make, I think, $20 too much, so it didn't work out. So I still have to pay the 188, 185. Yeah, but so $20. Wow. Before I worked for Social Security, I worked for Medicaid, and sometimes they do the wrong calculations, just like every other place. And if it's like $200, then yeah, but $20. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe appeal that sometime part of your earnings. There's exclusions. That, oh, this is excluded. If all you get is Social Security and stuff, then maybe not. But sometimes they exclude certain things. But if it's correct this time, since it's only $20, then maybe in January when Medicaid increases the threshold. If your Social Security check doesn't also increase, maybe in January you might be eligible. So just because you're not eligible now doesn't mean won't be eligible next year. So, all right. Well, let me get to some other people here. SHP ship sucks. When I got Medicare, everything what they told me turned out to be wrong. Yeah, I'm never going to talk bad about volunteers. Yeah, some of them are great. Some of them, I've known people, Medicare insurance people that help. That's what they do for a living, is help people find the best Medicare plan for them, brokers. And some of their clients are ship volunteers. So these ship volunteers help people find a Medicare plan for them. But when they need a Medicare plan for themselves, they say, I just don't think I'm going to make the right decision. So I want someone that actually does this for a living professionally, help them out. So yeah, but yeah. I'm still working, plus collecting my full retirement age for the last 2.5 years. I am lucky to still be healthy. Yeah, every day above ground is a beautiful day. Mentally stable and strong to work right along with my younger coworkers. Awesome. Good deal. Yeah, just keep it up. Every day above ground is a beautiful day. Hi, everyone. One of the viewers said that Dr. Weir and Chapter charges $140 for a consultation. Is this true? No, that is not true. Chapter is free. I don't do it anymore. But yeah, if you want a private consultation, I used to do them, but I stopped doing them. I've got another retired former Social Security person that she does my Jackson. If you want personal one-on-one, yes, $149 for that. We have to pay for the website and the programming and all that kind of good stuff. So yeah, providing free information is unfortunately not free. And my wife said I have to stop pulling out of the retirement savings. So, but yeah, I stopped doing this. I stopped doing those private consultations, but she can help you out if you need. But remember, 99.9% of our help is free. These Q&As are free. The Chapter Healthcare, the Chapter Medicare is free. So yeah. Let's see. My friend is a veteran, but Medicare told him he must pay the $185. The VA takes care of him with all his medical needs. Is that true? He must pay. Well, if he's a veteran, he knows that nothing is mandatory. But there are repercussions. So if he doesn't want Medicare Part B, then nobody has to sign up for Medicare Part B. But if you don't, and then you decide later that you do, then you're penalized 10% for every 12 months. So if he doesn't want it, then he doesn't have to get it. He just refused. But here's what I'm telling vets, that you're happy with the VA right now, but you read the newspaper, they're talking about cutting tens of thousands of employees from the VA, and he might be super happy with the VA now, his service and everything at the clinic, but who's to know if that's going to be there next month or next year, or he wants a second opinion or whatever the case may be. So I always recommend a fallback. And if he is low income and he just can't pay for that $185, make sure he applies for Medicaid and might be eligible for Medicaid, and they will pay for the $185. And here's another thing. It's called a Medicare Advantage Part B give back. So there might be a one available in your area where, again, you call chapter and they can check, where you sign up for a Medicare Advantage. Everybody knows I always recommend a Medicare supplement plan N or plan G. But if you're predominantly use the clinic, then probably a Medicare Advantage is probably best because there's zero premium and those Part B give back, exactly as the name implies, is it pays for part or all of your Part B. So you get a zero premium plan and it may pay $50 of your Part B or $100 of your Part B or $185 of your Part B premium. So yeah, reach out to chapter and they'll tell you whether there's one available in your area. But be careful on those because, these are health insurance companies and guess what? They're in it for a profit. So if you've got this plan where they don't pay for your Part B and you got this plan that does, they're gonna find their 180. If they're paying $185 of your Part B, they're gonna find other places there. So they might charge you $500 a night for a hospital, but this one over here only charges you $100 a night for the hospital. So but if you predominantly use the VA, then and you can switch those every year. So so you just go ahead and get that one, and then next year, if it turns out you need more healthcare, you switch over to another one. Yeah. So I just to see if I had enough hour, and there I do not. I had 35. I need 40. Then it said I owe them. I never got the letter anything that said I owe. Okay, yeah. So it sounds like you were talking about the quarters of coverage. You only got 35. You need 40. Yeah. So you earn 4 of those every year. Let's see here. Happy Easter. Happy Easter. I'm on SSDW. I will be 62 in July. Will I qualify for SSDW and retirement benefits? Okay. It sounds like you're disabled widows. Yeah. So you're DWIB, disabled widows benefits, DWB. So if you're receiving disabled widows benefits, and if you're entitled to retirement benefits on your own record, and those are higher benefits, yeah, you can jump onto those at 62. Or I would definitely call. You're going to be 62 in July, so maybe I start calling now. You might get in within the next by July. Call your politician and say, hey, how come they don't pick up the phone? How come you didn't give them resources to pick up the phone? Right? Social Security can only do what politicians allow them to do. Okay. So call up Social Security and say, hey, how much are my benefits on my own record if I start at 62? So if you're getting 1,000 now and you're entitled to 2,000 from your own, then yeah, you might switch. But yeah, so you really need to determine. And then remember, if you don't touch your benefits on your own record, they will continue to increase. So at 62, it might be $50. And you're like, oh, okay, $50 is $50. But if you wait till 67, it might be $200 more. So yeah, knowledge is good. So call them up and find out what the numbers are. Oh, and Pink Owl, thank you. Please hit the button, subscribe, share, hit the notification to all. Thank you. Yes, please, please, please. That's how we get the information out there. Tweety Bird, yeah, chapter does not charge for consultation. Exactly, they do not. So again, call them up and say, hey, I'm not super happy with the plan I got. Is there any exceptions to the exception where I can change my plan right now? And if they say, okay, well, where do you live? What state do you live in? Do you have Medicaid? Do you have the extra help? Have you recently moved? All that kind of stuff. And if they said, yeah, guess what? You can check to see if there's something better. And then they check to see if there's something better. But if not, they will say, hey, yeah, no, you can't switch right now. You can't switch. So there's no use wasting your time, looking for plans that you can't even switch to. So, and then they'll, set you up for October when you can switch. I am 67, and in February, I also approved Medicaid, but got Medicare still deducting $185. What to do? Okay, so in February, Medicaid has different levels. So the higher levels of Medicaid, the QMB, the QI, the SlimB and stuff, those pay for your $185. So maybe you have the lower levels of Medicaid, which doesn't pay the $185, but it still, helps you out in other places. That's option one. Or option two is the computer systems just haven't talked to each other yet. So given it's February, so what happens is you applied for Medicaid, they approve you, and if they say, yeah, we're going to pay you $185, then they have to notify Social Security Administration. Social Security Administration has to talk to Medicare. So you got three different systems: Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, computer systems talking to each other, and just it takes time for it to all work out. But if you paid your Part B premium, the $185 in February, March, April, and then the computer systems update, and then they pay your $185 in April and in February for February, and you already paid it, then you'll have a credit on your account, and then all of a sudden you'll get the $185 times 1, 2, 3 months or whatever back. So that's one of those two options. Lynn, what's up, Lynn? I am 69 and retired. My wife of 50 years, died suddenly at 69. Wow, 50 years. Wow, at 69 and unexpectedly on February 14th. Wow, a terrible day. The IRS isn't answering calls, and I am unsure if her death has ever been reported to the IRS, her monthly. So yeah, the IRS, they don't really have part of that. So if she passed away in the United States and her passing was reported to, a coroner's office, funeral home or something like that, as on the death certificate, then they automatically notify the Social Security Administration, and the Social Security Administration notifies the Department of Treasury. So if she was receiving benefits, just keep the bank account there, and the department. If this happened very recently, February 14th, so it should have already happened. February 14th. Yeah, it should have already happened. The Department of Treasury goes in there and rips out that check, pulls out that check if she's not entitled. So her benefit for February, she was entitled to that benefit because the February check, that's the January check. January check comes in February. But if you received a direct deposit in March, then the Department of Treasury will pull that out because you're not entitled. She's not entitled to that because she passed away in February. So hopefully everything, and then you're eligible for that lump sum death payment. I know it's $255. It's nothing, but you're entitled to $255 lump sum death payment. So reach out to Social Security and get that $255. If your benefit amount is less than hers, then you would be entitled to survivor benefits on her record. So sorry for your loss. That's 50 years. Wow. Joseph, SSI disability said to me that I can't work while I am on SSI at all. That is 100% incorrect. You can work. There's a lot of limitations. Basically, pretty much any money you make is kind of offset what you're getting from SSI because SSI is a welfare-based program. And part of in my website, I'm going to talk about SSI and working and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm still working on that part. I'm not allowed to work literally told by DMV. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure what DMV has anything to do with any of that. Lynn, follow up here. Wife's check did not come in. So are they already shut off? Yes. So everything yep. How to get survivor benefits. So everything went through correctly in terms of the death certificate and everything. So how to get survivor benefits. Again, if your benefit is less than her full benefit amount or her benefit check, then you're entitled to benefits. But at the very, very least, call up Social Security and set up an appointment for that lump sum death payment. And then they'll tell you whether there's any other benefits there. So if I'm eligible for Medicaid, will I be eligible for extra help from Social Security? Yes, the extra help with your Medicare prescription drugs. Yeah, if you're eligible for SSI or Medicaid, you're what's called categorically eligible for extra help with the extra help with Medicare Part B premiums. Yes, a mouthful there. I am on Social Security disability. Is it true they're going to cut off disability checks? In the previous Trump administration, that was the first target, was Social Security disability, but nothing happened there. They're talking about, fraud and, which Social Security deals with fraud every day. They shut people down on disability. If you're not disabled and you're able to work and all that kind of stuff, then yeah, they're going to shut you down. But if you're truly disabled and your disability prevents you from, working substantially, then, yeah, I mean, in order to find, the kind of the strategy as I see it is in order to find one person that are not entitled to benefits, they're going to shut off, the other 99 people, it seems like cutting back, and particularly with Medicaid. But for disability right now, I don't see any actions to shut down disability. And how they shut down individual cases of disability is through the CDR process, either work CDRs or medical CDRs. Those are the continuing disability reviews. So that's how individual people get shut off. And Social Security does those, every single day. But that's an allocation from Congress. So Congress, they every year they say, hey, Social Security, as part to protect the Social Security Disability Trust Fund, go out there and review the cases of, 3 million or 300,000 people on disability, and do those work CDRs and do those medical CDRs to make sure these people are still eligible. And that's the process, that Social Security goes through every day. And I'm sure you probably received one of those. But don't sweat it and don't stress it until you do. When you're approved for disability benefits, they put you on kind of a cycle, 1 year, 5 years, 7 years, or never, depending on your disability. And then if you're on a 5-year cycle, every 5 years, they send you that packet, or they don't. Depends whether they have money, whether Congress allocated money for that particular workload. So my philosophy of FCF, forget about those reviews until you actually get one in the mail. Once you get in the mail, complete it, make copies, send it in, and then forget about it again. Because even if you send it in, if they ran out of money and they can't do anymore, then you're sitting there sweating. Oh my gosh, are they reviewing how come I haven't heard anything back? I wonder if they're going to die me. No news is good news, or it is a good news. Maybe it's bad news. Just forget about it. Just forget about it, please. You've got other issues to worry about. So I filed 2020 for SSDI and went back to work, and it worsened my condition. Went to apply. They said it was still open, just have a doctor fill out the form. That was 2024. When does this apply? Yeah, usually you'd have to reapply for benefits unless you were in some type of appeals process waiting for an administrative law judge or something like that. Yeah, I don't see them keeping it around for 4 years like that. But if you're disabled, unable to work because of your disability, please apply. You paid for those benefits. If you need them, you need them. So whom should I contact at SSA if they are paying me the wrong amount since my income records were incorrect? Yeah, you get that proof together, and you contact Social Security. And this is something that people at the front windows can help with. Is it's called a 2.8. So you have to provide. So like let's say you worked in 2015 and your earnings record showed 0. But you've got your tax returns that you paid taxes and yada, yada, yada. Then you take it down to Social Security, your W-2 or your wages or whatever the case may be, net income from business or whatever, and say, hey, here's my, my proof for 2015, put it in there. And then they'll put it in there. And then if that increases your benefit amount, it'll increase your benefit amount. And if you've been receiving benefits for 1 or 2 or 3 years, they will give you that retroactive back pay because, that increased your benefit amount since day one. So thank you, Dr. Ed, for all your patience, dedication, and compassion. Thank you. Patience, not sometimes, especially with all the people with all the, why did you skip my question? I skip a lot of questions. Yeah, unfortunately. So, but I didn't skip your question asking. Yeah, sorry about that. I guess if I was going to answer one of your questions, I should have asked you answer your actual question. So yeah, I've got hundreds of questions, but we've only got a couple more minutes. As a spouse, which amount will I receive? Half of my husband's benefits at 67 or at 70 when he retires? Thanks for your help. You will receive up to half of his benefit amount when he files. So if he files at 67, you'll receive up to half. If he files at 70, you'll receive up to half because you can't file for spouse benefits until he actually starts receiving his benefits. How much? It's not the 70 amount. It's based on his PIA, the primary insurance amount. So if he files at 70, then you go ahead and file for benefit amount. And if his benefit amount at 70 is $5,000, which it exists, you're not going to get half of 5,000 because that's with the delayed retirement credits. You're going to get up to half, depending on your age, of his benefit at his full retirement age, 67 possibly. That's different for surviving spouse benefits. Surviving spouse benefits, it's not up to 50%, it's up to 100%. So, Jimmer, my birthday is in July. I have already signed up for Part A, B, and a G plan. Good job on the G plan. Are you able to afford a G plan? Awesome. I am struggling to decide on a Plan D plan. Since I'm only signing up for the last 6 months of the year, does it really matter? You don't want to avoid, you want to avoid getting that penalty. So if you don't really take drugs, you sign up for, Plan G and, you're like, oh, I don't take drugs, but I have to sign up for Part D or I get penalized. And I don't want to sign up for Part D because I'm not taking drugs. I don't care. Just sign up for the cheapest plan you can possibly find. The Part D, go to Medicare.gov and, put in you probably don't have any medications or one medication. So put it in there and it'll tell you the cheapest plan and then sign up for that one. And then next year or the year after, if you have to start taking medications, then switch your plan. So, all right, we are over an hour and we are out of time as usual. Let me get one or two more questions. Medicare Savings Program, help me not to pay the $185. Good, because I don't get enough to be able to afford that $185. Call the Medicaid office to apply. Thank you for that commercial. Yes. For always, forever, for life. Yes, Medicare Savings Program. People think that, well, I've got Medicare, so I can't get Medicaid. No, that's incorrect. I mean, people are missing pieces of this puzzle. You can get retirement benefits and spouse benefits and Medicare and Medicaid and SSI and the Medicare Savings Program and a Medicare Advantage dual eligible plan and a Medicare Part D, the extra help with a prescription drug. One person can get all of that. One person, the same person can get all of the things I just said. But people get, they get this and they miss this other part. So that's, I guess, to wrap it all up. That's the title of today's video, is how to increase your benefits. And part of increasing that benefit is to know what you are actually eligible for, filling in all those pieces of the puzzle. So thank you for ending this off on a wrap up note there, for always, forever, for life. All right, y'all take care. Have an awesome day.